Now in TNA, and you have a history with them as well, they're enjoying a renaissance.
They're making they're growing incrementally, right? And they're doing it almost quietly. Like they're not out there thumping their chests and talking about taking down the competition and all the, the crazy stuff that, for example, AEW did in the very beginning. They're just quietly going about their business, producing great shows, bringing in great talent, and getting involved with great partnerships, and they're growing their business. And that's the part that excites me, watching a business grow, especially a wrestling business. Got a little bit of an affinity for it.
Yes.
So it's been fun watching TNA grow.
It's been shocking somewhat for me because I felt like they were almost dead a few years ago, right? It just felt like they were going nowhere, that they had no momentum, and now all of a sudden, 7,600 at a big arena last night. The deal with WWE has obviously been beneficial, but it just seems like they have a ton more momentum than maybe 3-4 years ago.
They're one deal away from being a major player.
Wow.
If they get a broadcast partner, if they get the right broadcast situation, because they've got the product, they know what they're doing. There's a good team of people. They just need a bigger platform. And if they get it, watch them take off.
Could they, at some point, pass AEW? They'll never get to WWE. Let's not get crazy. But do you think they could be number 2? Do they have what it takes?
By this time next year.
You think so?
I think so.
This time next year, Eric? Really? It depends on the TV deal, though, right?
Depends on a TV deal.
If the TV deal isn't a big one, isn't a great one, that will be tough.
Damn near impossible.
Right. But you feel like they could do it this time next year.
With the right television partner.
They're number 2 this time.
And, what's number 2? By what revenue, by what measure do we define a number 2? But I think in terms of television ratings, popularity, yeah, they could be number 2 in a minute.
First of all, Ariel, we all know as wrestling fans, TNA will never die. Never, ever, ever gonna die. Never in a million years. If they haven't died by now, TNA will never die. And they are 100% correct. TNA is on the precipice. You like that word? Precipice? They are on the edge. They are very, very close to becoming that number 2. AEW fans, they're very loyal, they're very passionate, they're very territorial, they're very defensive, and they'll tell you, oh, everybody says AEW's dying and nobody's going to their shows, but look at this big stadium show. They just drew 45,000 people. Yeah, in a 70,000 seat building. So they sold half of a stadium for their WrestleMania. And then the very next week, they're doing a show at a fucking Mexican taco restaurant. They have a great margarita and burrito combo over there. It's delicious, one of the best in town, but it's not exactly super impressive, of a wrestling crowd that they drew there. Oh, there are 1,000 people in that building, all sitting at their tables, eating their fucking chips and salsa. Now look, the setting looks cool. I like these unique venues, but let's be honest. They're doing these small, and you'll see people in comments and online and stuff be like, oh, it's great to see AEW's choosing to do these smaller, unique venues. No, they're doing these smaller, unique venues because they can't sell the arenas anymore, and that's why they're always blacked out with no lighting or anything like that, so you can't see all the empty seats in the crowd. You can hear it when they cut the promos. It's all echoey and empty and stuff. AEW is losing its audience constantly. I know I just lost subscribers there. Peace. You can't handle the truth, I guess. This isn't to bash AEW, but they're quickly becoming a niche company with all the blood and the gore and the violence. There's a fan base for that. That's why ECW lives on to this very day. People still love ECW. But it's a niche audience. They are not doing anything at all to appeal to a mainstream audience. Not a goddamn thing. And Bischoff nailed it where he says that TNA is putting on a wrestling show for a bigger audience, for the wider wrestling audience. And they're doing everything right. I thought when they let go of Scott D'Amore and a couple other people that they could be in trouble here. Like, what are they doing? But then the partnership with WWE, and there's criticisms for TNA, giving all their titles to NXT people and stuff like that. But this partnership has helped them out greatly. And they have been putting on great shows. And that's how they got to a point where they could sell 700 or 7,500 tickets to a wrestling show and make it look like a huge crowd in there. TNA is slowly but surely becoming a player in the wrestling business again. Back from the dead of, like I said, they will never die. And now they're getting all this exposure with WWE. They got some really great talent in there. They're making excellent use of veterans. They're making excellent use of talent exchanges. Having AJ Styles just randomly show up as a surprise to come out and pop the crowd the way he did. I thought the Hardy Boys winning the tag titles in the way the rope ladder, like, how brilliant is that? Of all the ladder matches we've seen in history, when have we ever seen a rope ladder come into play? Fucking brilliant stuff. They got their Joe Hendrys, and look, all of their top talent are going to find their way over to WWE like Jordan Grace did. So they need to be able to have that machine too to develop new talent. And if they're using NXT crossover talent, that's a smart way to keep hot, young, new talent on their roster as well. They're doing great things, and I think they had it absolutely right. If TNA is ever able to acquire a good TV deal, like a very solid TV deal like AEW has, or WWE, of course, has and will always have because they're the top dogs. But if TNA can get into that space of television that AEW has, it's over for AEW. They're going to go down to number 3. Right now, they're number 2 because they have a TV deal. And because they have a billionaire that can throw around contracts like candy. Big money contracts to big money stars. Like it's nothing. TNA probably will never be able to do that, especially because they seem to be very budget conscientious. But a nice fat TV deal could change a lot of that too. And let's be real, you don't need all of the ex-WWE talent. You need a couple big stars, and you can be well on your way with just that. They get a fat TV deal, they're able to bring in just a couple names, a couple bigger names. Man, AEW's in trouble. And AEW doesn't seem to be learning, They're not selling the tickets that they would like to. They're not filling the arenas, so they're going to these small venues. And instead of changing anything or reevaluating or taking a look, they just keep going. They're just like, we'll just keep doing what we're doing because we got all the money in the world and it really doesn't matter. Excuse me. Like, they're burning through their audience. And I got to tell you, man, I'm talking from experience here because I was a huge AEW fan. Put yourself in the shoes of a 2018, 2019 WWE fan. It was dead. Vince McMahon's shitty, horrible, unaware booking, just zero acknowledgement of what the fans wanted, zero cares, zero fucks given, because once they were the only game in town, they stopped trying. It didn't matter anymore, and they just put out bullshit after bullshit after bullshit, and fans were disgruntled with the product. Wrestlers were disgruntled with the company, and they wanted to leave. Along comes AEW and changed the business forever. They've made their mark in wrestling history. They are now the longest running wrestling show on television, next to WWE, of course. But once Vince left and Triple H took back over and the booking started to get better over in WWE, they started listening to the fans and that sort of thing, AEW started to slip. And instead of being self-aware enough to recognize their weaknesses, they just kept moving forward. People criticize the booking. Do they bring in anybody new to do any kind of help with the booking at all? New writers, more experienced wrestling people? No, nothing at all. Just Tony Khan and his fucking notebook going, nope, my product, my fucking childhood dream. I'm not letting anybody else play with my toys. They're mine. And he just kept trucking with his same bullshit. This whole John Moxley Death Riders angle that they've been running with for way too long has been killing the show off. That angle started in the arenas. Now they're doing Mexican fucking nacho restaurants. Bleeds every single show. Oh, I like blood. I like violence. I love ECW. He's hardcore. He's hardcore. Yeah, it loses all meaning when you do it all the time. A match like you had with the Hangman once in a very great while will be talked about for ages, but they do it on every show, every pay-per-view, everything. Literally stabbing people in the head with forks. Jesus Christ, dude. Like, you see the blood squirt. Like, that's, again, if that was a rare instance, that would have a huge effect on people. But people are turned off by that. It's not that people don't enjoy blood in a wrestling match. It's that it's so overdone. Everything they do is so overdone. The Young Bucks no-selling fucking their match with Swerve and Ospreay in the no-selling of the double fucking Mexican destroyers, Canadian destroyers. Like, it's a spot show. It's choreographed. It's cheesy. It's ultra violent. And it's just pushing people away and turning people off, the casuals. And they're like, well, we got our diehards that love everything we do. Sure, but there's only 1,000 of them, 1,500 of them or so in every town that are going to come out and pay ticket money to watch your fucking show. It's becoming embarrassing. They're doing nothing to elevate their product. They're doing nothing to change their ways. They're doing nothing to appeal to casual fans. ECW is remembered to this day. It's legendary. And it catered to a niche audience. But that niche audience only came to see them in bingo halls and high school gyms and fucking, Mexican bar and grills. This is not something that's going to continue to sell out arenas all around the world. It's just not. And slowly but surely, TNA is building themselves back up to a point where they are starting to put butts in seats in arenas. Now, that was a one-off too, and that was a bigger show. So, to be fair is fair. AEW gets their props for selling out half of a stadium or whatever. AEW or TNA gets their props for, selling out most of an arena, 3/4 of an arena or whatever. I think AEW had like 11,000 in that same building a year ago or whatever. But they're coming, man. They are moving up the ladder. They're moving up the ranks. And they're doing it by appealing to a mass audience and putting on a show that most wrestling fans will enjoy. Even the diehard AEW marks that love all the shit, all the gimmicks, all the blood, the gore, the violence, the spot fest, the choreographed gymnastics, the no-selling, the weirdo characters and stuff. They're watching TNA too. Because TNA appeals to a wide audience. And now they're capitalizing on WWE's audience a little bit and getting the exposure over there. Now, TNA, as of right now, is still a number 3, and they got a ways to go. But as Bischoff said, man, one big TV deal can easily and quickly put them in at number 2. And all of the money in the world, all the billionaire bucks that go into this from daddy's bank account won't save AEW if their ratings and their viewership and their attendance and all the buzz, the engagement, if all that starts to go away and TNA is able to capitalize on what they're doing and continue to build, the billionaire money is not going to cut it anymore. It's just not. Look at all the people that he spent all the multi millions of dollars to bring in that are just another fucking guy on the show, right? Barely worth a shit at all. Doing nothing. TNA doesn't need 5-10x big WWE guys. They just need a couple. That's it. Household names to really go along with that TV deal and get them to the next level. They're very close. And AEW should be worried. And AEW ran me off as a fan. That's where I was going to earlier. I was there when WWE sucked. But somewhere along the way, they burnt me out as a fan. I started to get bored with the product. Started to get bored with the characters. Started to get bored with the choreographed gymnastics. The no-selling. The spot fests. The silliness that goes on over there. And look, man, I grew up watching the King of the Deathmatch tournament was in heavy rotation when I was a kid. But I had never seen something like that before, and it existed onto itself. It wasn't a weekly, everyday thing. And ECW was a weekly, everyday thing, but they were also a very niche product with very small audience. Low viewership, low attendance. They drew enough numbers to kind of keep them afloat, but they really didn't because Paul Heyman went bankrupt running that company. Tony doesn't have to worry about going bankrupt because he's a fucking billionaire. But what if they lose their TV deal? What if they go to a smaller network? What if they do something on TV that goes too far and they get canceled? Warner Brothers is looking at splitting off its TV division altogether and selling it to a different company. They're going to keep their movie products and everything to themselves, and they're going to sell off the TV product. That's in the works, folks. Look it up. I did a video on it before anybody was talking about it because I also follow the movie and the entertainment dirt sheets like Variety and stuff like that, the Hollywood Reporter. They talk about stuff like this. And that's something Warner Brothers is looking to do because they're really not that financially stable right now. They have a lot of debt from their merger with Discovery. So one of the things that is on the table and likely to happen is they're going to be spinning off, selling off. They're going to turn their TV programs into a completely separate company. And that new company is going to have a new boss. Is that new boss going to want fucking Jon Moxley getting stabbed in the head with forks and spurting all over the place? All it takes is one executive to go, I don't want that on my TV. We saw that with WCW. It wasn't Vince Russo that killed WCW. It wasn't Eric Bischoff that killed WCW. It was new TV executives with the merger with AOL where they just said, no, it doesn't fit my vision for this channel anymore. And that was it. They were done. AEW is in danger of that. I wish, we'll wrap it up quick here. I want there to be strong number 2s and number 3s. It's healthy for the wrestling business. It's good that if an R-Truth gets cut, that he has options of places he can go work if he still wants to. Or anybody else for that matter. Not everybody can go get an OnlyFans account like Elena Black, right? Some people gotta still work in the wrestling business, or they gotta go get a shoot job somewhere. And it's good to have those companies there that are healthy and making money that they can offer contracts to these people. And maybe those people find their way back to WWE because they did so well in other companies. So it's maddening to see AEW just not try. And look, they're fanboys. They're loud, man. They'll say it right in the comments. I'm telling you, I'm getting comments. I'm losing subscriptions. It's happening. Read them. Go down and read them. Right? Like, people are going to defend AEW to the bitter end because they like it. But clearly, the wider wrestling world, the wider wrestling audience, the casual fan, the WWE fan that heard about AEW and checked it out or whatever, they're losing those people. And I am a giant mark. And I don't mind a little blood and violence in my matches. You know, I'm not one that subscribes to, oh, we shouldn't have blood and stuff. I'm not a pussy. We should have blood, but it should be used sparingly. I like the way WWE uses blood. When there's blood in WWE, it means fucking something because they don't do it very often. So when you do see that, you're like, wow, they went extra for this. Like when The Rock busts open Cody or something, for example. Like, that means something. John Moxley fucking bleeds walking to the ring. It doesn't mean anything. It's frustrating, man. It's frustrating. But TNA, look out for them, man. They're a sleeper, and they're slowly creeping their way up. I'll leave it there. I'd love to know your thoughts. Are you an AEW fanboy that hopefully didn't unsubscribe, that could tell me where I'm wrong, or that could agree on some things, or just add your input? What do you think of TNA? Do you think TNA is that one big TV deal away from being number 2? Have you been watching TNA? Have you gone back to TNA? Are you starting to follow the product a little bit more? See what they're doing? What do you think of the entire wrestling industry as a whole? Is it healthy or anything at all? Let's just keep that conversation going. It is good for my algorithm. It helps a brother out. YouTube sees people like the video, they're interacting with the video, and they spread it to more people. If you do like the cut of my jib, hit that subscribe button down below. Also in the description, if you could, check out the links to my book, The Gathering, A Bold Journey into the Belly of the Juggalo Underworld. It's a funny book about a guy who hates juggalos that ends up getting sucked into going to the gathering of the juggalos. And he's got to deal with all of that, and madness and craziness ensues. If you have a credit on Audible, you can just plop a credit rate down on that and get the book. If you don't like it, you can return it. They let you do that there. Also got hardcover, softcover, paperback, all that shit on Amazon. And if you're a Kindle reader on your tablet, we got that too. I got you covered, bro. Peace, love, and pizza. I am your boy, Seth Grimes, and we will catch you in the next video.
Let me tell you something, brother. Thanks for watching the video. Check out more great clips by hitting that subscribe button, dude. And while you're there, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to say your prayers and eat your vitamins, brother.